G'day everyone. I wanted to talk to you about something today that, well, it's more of a change of the guard in the autofocusing for digital SLR cameras. When I first moved over from Nikon over to Sony, there was a difference in how the autofocus worked. Now, admittedly, I came from using something like a D4S, which was a very high-ended Nikon, and it was incredibly fast in the focus department. I mean, really fast. That was a sports camera, though. Sony didn't have anything at that stage that would match anything like that. But due to the fact of what I needed, and that was to get a camera that I do fusion, which means I'm doing stills and video at the same time, I needed a camera that could do both, and Nikon never had anything at that time, neither did Canon in mirrorless. So that was the reason why I went over to Sony. But there was a definite difference when I moved over to Sony. The first Sony that I got was the A7 IIs. Now, they weren't too bad, but they did suffer a little bit, particularly in very low light, where they would start to hunt and things like that. And I worked a way of getting around that using fast glass wide open, but it was still nowhere near what I used to get with my D4S or even the D810 that I had. And clearly the leader at that time was Canon with their dual pixel autofocus when that was developed. And there's an article here that you can look at it. It actually says that in 2013 Canon developed this dual pixel autofocus. And it really was a great, it was a game changer if you're dealing with the way the cameras worked at the back. So that's why Canon were very, very good at the video. And they're saying in here that the first camera that actually had it was the EOS 70D. And then it went obviously to the 80D. But they had a very good implementation of it when you were using it as video. You know, you could touch the back of the screen and do different things, and it did focus very, very well. And I think that's one thing that they really did get an advantage over, say, what Sony were using at the time or Nikon were using at the time for video. And sort of Canon had it to themselves for a long period of time where this dual pixel autofocus was way ahead of anything that was actually out there. But like I said, it didn't matter so much, but particularly with video, they really had an advantage with doing things through that, and their video was always probably top notch. Their video autofocus was always top notch, and I will leave these articles down the bottom so that you can have a look at it to see how this all worked and the timeline about, you know, when it sort of came in and things like that, because it is quite interesting. But the thing is too, though, that like I said, Sony with the A7, originally it was the A7, and then it went to the A7 II, and that, like I said, the focus certainly was lacking if you were dealing with doing things like events and things like that in low light, and it was particularly not very good for video if you compared it to what the dual pixel had. And that's sort of changing now with the latest cameras that are coming out from Sony. And if you look at the Sony A7R II that first came out, the autofocus on that camera particularly was a drastic improvement over what they had in previous cameras. Now, I'm only talking about full frame. We also had the A6300 and the A6500, which improved the focus as well. But the first camera that I had that had reasonable autofocus, where I could say it was really quite good, was the A7R II. In fact, I'm using that now on autofocus, and that is really quite good, and I still use that camera often. It's still nowhere near as good as what the dual pixel autofocus gives, though. There's something about the way that the dual focus will tend to lock on and also smoothly transition into or getting objects in focus was quite lovely if you're dealing with it that way. But like I said, the A7R II was probably the first one that I had that was more of a real step up in video autofocus particularly, and even stills autofocus over what I'd had in the previous cameras, particularly the A7 II. And it was starting to get much, much closer to what I was using in my Nikon days. It still didn't match it, but it was much, much closer. So let's look at what's happening now. So if we look at the cameras that tend to change, this completely was the A7 III. There was the A7R III, which is also very, very good. Much better again than the A7R II. I didn't upgrade to that because I was happy at the moment with my A7R II, but I did buy the A7 III. And that autofocus was a drastic improvement over what we'd had previously. You know, you could use a touch screen to get focus, things like that, and I use that all the time. It's very, very good at tracking. The IAF, for the first time really, is a real game changer in the way that you can use your camera on that. And even now, that's been out, around about 12 months, even now, the Sony IAF is probably a couple of 2 or 3 years ahead of the competition, and it really is amazing. The IAF and the face detection works outstanding. So that's one thing where they've improved it that way. The A9 came out, and again, that's even better. Or the A9 was released before the A7 III, but the A9 was released, and that sort of competes very, very well with what I was using with my D4S. And it would still be up there with the latest Nikon cameras and Canon cameras. It probably surpasses those cameras in autofocus. It really is outstanding, and I'm lucky to have the A9 and the A7 III. So the interesting thing is here that for the first time really, Sony with the A9 and the A7 III, and also the A7R III, which is not quite there, but it's close, have probably got up to the same point as dual pixel. So it's probably now on a par with those other systems that are out there. But what's going to change is that in a couple of weeks, it won't be long now, sometime I think they said in March, Sony are going to announce their new firmware. And that new firmware is going to be a game changer, I think, if you're dealing with autofocus. And what I'll do is I'll bring up this document so you can have a look. Okay, so let's look at this. So this update, it's a major, it says there, this is a document Sony have just released, but it's saying it's a major update, redefines pro performance. Now, the real difference here for the first time is the real tracking that's been implemented from this. Now, there's a couple of things, and then I'll show you how this real tracking works, but the real tracking is very, very sticky, and it tends to be that you can use the touch screen down here just to click on the object, and then it will track that object. Now, that's not only people, it will also track anything that you click on. So it will do animals, it will do even still objects, whatever you want to do. So you can just click on that and it will track that object without losing it to other objects as well. But the main thing here is the real-time tracking and the IAF. So the IAF now is going to be much, much stickier, and you can now do it with just pressing the one button, where you used to have to put this onto a quick key or a custom key, and then actually it would grab the IAF from there. Well, this new implementation is you don't need to do that. You can just press the AF on button, or you can obviously half press the shutter button and it will grab the IAF. And I can tell you, even the way the A7 III works and the A9 works, that will grab IAF from ridiculous lengths away. It is, like I said, it's so far ahead of anything that Canon or Nikon have even now. The update is going to push that even further, so I'm really excited to get that. They're also going to put in animal IAF as well, and they've taken probably, you know, thousands and thousands of images and based it all on that. It's using AI to get that to work. But let me sort of explain how this new real-time tracking works. So you can see here that now what it's doing is it's using the face, it's using the eye, it's also, then it will, after it looks at the face and the eye, it looks at things like color, pattern, distance, and it does all this in real-time processing that goes on. So the AI is looking at all of these 5 things all at the same time. And this is the real difference with how this will work compared to previous. You know, it's looking at all the colors in the image and if there's any patterns that are actually there. It will look at the distance between what it's trying to track and what's in the background and things like that, and it will maintain that tracking the whole time. And that's why now it uses these 5 things to maintain tracking, and that's why it's such a massive leap forward than what it was before using this new AI that Sony have developed. But if you look here at DP Reviews, they actually said, if you look at it, and like I said, I'll put these documents down below so that you can have a look. It's things like this. You can trust it to track and focus your subject while you concentrate on composing your photos. In other words, you really no longer need to focus and then recompose. And it seems to be that it is incredibly sticky, and they actually say that if you read through it. It says it doesn't jump to other objects. It will lock on that object. And it's saying things like here, they're saying things, machine learning, Sony allows Sony AF system to detect human and animal eyes in a very robust manner. And it's just saying there is no need to keep your focus there is no need to focus on keeping your AF point on your subject, which for years has constrained composition. And they're saying down here, now this is the interesting one, they're saying, performance-wise, it's the stickiest tracking we've ever seen. And everything I've seen about this tends to back that up. It really does. I mean, it seems to be that it's incredibly sticky. It will grab the eye first if that's what you want it to grab on, because the second you press the shutter button, it will grab the eye. You can switch eyes as well. And the old version of this would grab any eye that was closer. Now it's not going to do that, because once you've locked on that subject, it will track that eye unless you want to change and track something else. So as soon as you click on that subject on the back of the screen, it's going to track, for instance, me. It would grab the eye. If then it couldn't grab the eye, it will go to face detect, and then if face detect won't work, it will grab the whole body and keep tracking. And like Dpreview said, it's the stickiest that they've seen, and they've showed a video of it actually working. And it does seem to look incredibly, fantastic. It looks like it's absolutely outstanding in the way that it works. And I can't wait to use this in real life. Because the thing is, at the moment, I'm so happy with my A9. I'm going to release a video tomorrow or the next day of Kiara that I've just done. And the tracking in that is outstanding as well. And I can't wait to get this real tracking where it's going to take it to that next level. The Sony a7 III obviously is only going to get the eye tracking, the new IAF and the animal IAF. That's still going to be amazing, and it's great that Sony have allowed that to happen for that camera as well. But the A9 particularly is going to be put into another level, and to me it seems to be like it's almost a new camera, and I'm really excited about it. And in fact, I would have paid for that update if I had to get that. So I'd love to know your comments down below, but I think for the first time ever now with these new updates, Sony have actually surpassed Canon with Dual Pixel, and it's the first time that I can say that now. I think before they were on a par, and now I think that Sony have probably surpassed them. So it's really, really exciting with what's going to happen in the future. Love to know what you think about this. Put that in the comment box down below, and I'll see you all again soon, guys, for the next video. Bye for now.